Hey everyone, good morning. Today we're going to talk about Amazon and how to set it up for success. I'm going to go over settings, SEO, advertising, and business reports, which is like stats, okay? So just for the record, if you are watching this and you are a person who has purchased my Amazon webinar, then you're more than welcome to still join me because you miss me. But you probably have much more thorough and step-by-step information compared to this Facebook Live. This is definitely meant for people who don't have the course, can't afford it, have no interest in purchasing it, whatever, but still want to get the Amazon shop set up because it's super important. We know that until the end of 2018, they're going to still waive the $40, $39.99 fee per month, which allows you to sell on Amazon for free without a monthly fee. But of course, you're paying fees on the items you sell. But if you sell nothing, you pay nothing. So that's exciting. I want people to give it a really good shot. In 2017 alone, I was able to make over 6 figures on Amazon alone. I could literally just work on Amazon and still be in business, right? You know, I can't guarantee that for everyone, but I can say that there's a lot of potential. There are millions of buyers and Amazon is pretty much the #1 e-commerce platform. I know in the US, I'm not sure if it's in the world, but there's certainly a lot of potential on there. A lot more buyers, a lot more needs are being met, okay? And I definitely want you to be part of it if you're not already part of it. And if you're already part of it but don't know what you're doing, I hope this Facebook Live will help you. Let's get started. Today I'm gonna talk about how to set up your Amazon shop for success, settings, SEO, advertising, and stats. While I'm gonna give you some direction, obviously, you know, you're not gonna be able to see my screen. So if I'm looking at something on Amazon, you can't see my screen. I'm talking to you about it. It's just this Facebook Live is meant as a guide to help you kind of get off, you know, on a good start, push you off your feet to get going, right? But if you find yourself needing much more direction, needing much more help, this is to help you get started, but not a thorough step-by-step how-to. I'd highly recommend then, if you need more guidance, to get my Amazon webinar. So let's get started right directly into settings, okay? I'm getting started with that first because it's almost like a foundation you lay. Let's say if you have $100 a month in sales on Amazon, it's not gonna make you go to 5,000, I don't think, you know, but it certainly could be the difference between you gaining or losing a sale if things are not set up correctly, such as shipping settings, okay? And of course, for your business reasons, you have to make sure tax settings are set up correctly so you don't screw yourself over. Gift settings, you know, there's certain things that can make or break a sale. So doing this kind of somewhat annoying, right? You're like, oh, I have to figure out shipping, I have to figure out pricing. It's annoying, I have to start doing math. I'm gonna show you that math today, by the way. I have to do all these annoying things. But here's the reality. You do it once, you make sure it works, and you leave it alone. You know, unlike other things I'm going to be talking about today, which is advertising, business stats, SEO, things like that. Those may need a little bit more work. But the settings part, I want you to do it, set it, and forget it, okay? So there's a lot of settings. If you go to your Amazon account, you'll see that there are plenty of settings to go through. Shipping, return settings, tax settings, gift settings, your artisan profile, your info and policies, blah, blah, blah. There's plenty. I'm going to talk about 3 of those today, okay? But there's much more you should be just filling out and getting done when you first start your Amazon shop. You know, it's almost like when you start a website, you want to make sure that shipping is obviously set up correctly, your payment gateway is set up correctly, like all those basic things, you know. Customers don't see that until they have to check out, right? Something's wrong, but you still have to set it up. So let's talk about shipping settings. One of the most popular things to talk about because people either can't seem to get it right. What I find people always ask me questions about is they can't get the correct pricing for their weight of their item. I want to chat about it. I want to kind of give you some little math skills, okay, to help you. And I hope it does help you. I want you to take some notes. If not, you can rewatch this and take some notes to help you set up shipping, you know, once and for all correctly. Now, here's the thing. If you already have shipping set up, listen to this Facebook Live because what you don't want to do is overcharge. You obviously don't want to undercharge, but you don't want to overcharge because you may be losing sales because of it, okay? People might look at it and go, oh, shipping's too high, especially on Amazon, okay? So you want to make sure you're charging fairly. So when you log into your Seller Central, top right corner is settings, click on it, and then go to shipping settings, okay? You could create templates. Let's go over one template you could create, okay? And you know, you could have domestic shipping, which is your standard locally, and like the US, if you're in the US, and then you could have priority mail. Let's go over domestic first, right? Standard shipping, okay? The reality is people don't understand how to calculate the whole per order and per pound situation. So this is my little formula. Okay, let's see if I remember it correctly. Okay, now it tells you you could put a dollar amount per order and per pound. So let's do per pound first. Now, everything I'm doing and I'm gonna teach you is a guessing game. You're gonna first guess and then see what it comes out to. And then you're gonna adjust. But all my items are 4 ounces for a pack of stationery, okay? Yours might be 5, yours might be 6, I don't know. Whatever that amount is, if it's in ounces, you're gonna take 16 ounces on your calculator, which is a pound, divided by the number of ounces your product is, your basic one item is. In my case, it's 4 ounces. So 16 divided by 4 is 4. Write that number down. Not 4 ounces, just 4. Okay, you took 16 ounces divided by 4 ounces, it's 4. Now, put a dollar amount in that shipping area, such as I have $4 in there. So it's now $4 per pound. So what are you going to do? You're gonna take the $4 per pound, so 4, divided by that number you just got when you calculated something earlier, which is 4. That's 1. 4 divided by 4 is 1. Okay? That means $1. So it's charging the customer $1 for that item, but it's costing me much more than $1 to ship. So you're more than welcome to do a rate per order. So I have $2.50 per order plus $1. So it's $3.50. If you're like, Daya, it costs me much more to send something, adjust accordingly. So for example, we'll do $6 per pound. Remember what the calculation first, 16 ounces divided by 4, which is my amount of how heavy my product is, equals 4. 16 divided by 4 is 4. Write that number down. Now that we changed the $4 per pound to $6 per pound, you can do $6 per pound, which is $6, divided by the number 4 you had earlier. That's 1.5, $1.50. So now it's $1.50 to ship that product plus the $2.50 I wrote per order. Is that add up correctly? You should know, of course, how much does it cost for your item to ship, plus shipping and handling fees, right? Your packaging, etc. Once you know that, you can start adjusting and saying, okay, what is that magic number? Okay, let's do a different example because the number 4 for how much my product weighs seems to be an easy number for me. Let's say your product weighs 5 ounces. So again, you take 16 ounces, which is 16 ounces in a pound, divided by 5. That number is 3.2. Do you see that, guys? 3.2. Write that number down. Now, again, set a number to $1 per pound. So I'm going to do, let's say, $10 per pound. I type it into my shipping settings. Now I have $10 per pound. Divided by that 3.2 number you have. I have $3 and almost 13 cents. You see that? That's the amount you're charging them plus the amount you have per order. If that number added up makes sense for actually how much you should be charging them, that's your magic number. If not, adjust the number accordingly to the math makes sense. Okay? When you do it once, it is done. It might take you a hot minute, probably 30 minutes or so, but you have to do it. Now, you have different Amazon templates that you could set up. All my items are pretty much the same. So in your listings, you could tell the listing how much this item weighs. And that's how it will know to calculate shipping correctly. And this may differ if you have light items like stationery and then super, super heavy items like furniture, right? You may have to have a different Amazon template that you could assign to different SKUs. You could do it in your shipping settings. Imagine I start adding notebooks. I just made that up, okay? Let's just say I don't, but the weight, it doesn't quite work out with that calculation. I could make another shipping template and assign it to those SKUs, notebook SKUs, okay? Yeah, shipping kills me. I realized that this past year I'm losing money on shipping. Bad, right? And by the way, guys, you might feel confident after I teach you this little math trick and you do it and you do it and you do it and you figure out what's your magic number or numbers. Then you have to watch sales roll in and say, okay, if people are adding so much to their cart, does it make sense? And that's why I want you to do 2 before you decide on your final number. Now, what if somebody adds more than 1 set of stationery to their order? If somebody adds 3 sets, okay? So 4 ounces times 3 is 12. So now we have a 12-ounce package. So since I set mine to $4 per pound, I take the 16 ounces, that's in a pound, divided by the 12 for the package. I get 1.3333. Now I take that $4 divided by 1.333, whatever. It's now going to be charging him $3 plus the $2.50 per order. Do the math. Does it make sense? The point is, after you do the initial math, you have to make sure that it makes sense as a person adds more and more items to their cart. In my case, they do. Sometimes they add more than 1 set, okay? Then when you realize, yes, it works for one set of stationery or one of your products, and it works for multiples if they buy multiples, then that's your magic number. If not, keep adjusting. You might have to adjust the dollar amount per pound, or you may have to adjust the dollar amount per order. If your weight varies because of variations, that's different. You can't charge more within variation as far as shipping. But if you're saying it because it's just different products and they cost differently, do the math and say what works for 3 pounds, does it work for the 7, 8, 9, 10? If it doesn't, make a different shipping template. Karen, I tried to do it by weight, and no matter what I changed it to, it just put the same dollar amount. So that's something funky, right? So if you're trying to do the right things, it's not quite working out. Well, the best thing to really do is reach out to Amazon. If you think something's wrong with their platform and not adding up correctly, and by the way, these are systems. Don't put it past it. They might have some funky things going on with it. It might affect your actual correct amount. But if it's just putting the same amount no matter what you change it to, either you're not doing something right or the system's acting weird. You might have to reach out to Amazon. I think more than any other setting you have is probably the most important. I think we all could agree. With Amazon Prime on the rise and people expecting free shipping, so if you don't charge correctly, then that's problematic. And that also makes it really easy for you to go ahead into these templates and offer free shipping. So going in and just pretty much putting zeros, show people you're offering free shipping, let's say for a limited time. If you ever do that, by the way, make sure you take a picture, write down your actual dollar amount. So if you change it back from free shipping to charging for shipping, you have the correct dollar amounts. So let's move on, okay? So let's go into the return settings. This one seems to get people upset because they misunderstand for the most part, okay? You know, Amazon is one of those platforms that kind of doesn't hide that they're a jerk sometimes to sellers. It's very evident. Other platforms hide it. Okay, and you don't realize it until you're getting screwed over when a return tries to happen with a customer. Okay, so just let you know that they just don't hide. They don't, they show their jerkness. Okay, so here's the thing. When you go to your return settings, I highly recommend to click on the email format so you can receive return requests to authorize, close, or reply. The reality is if you sign into your Amazon account often, you won't miss those return requests. The next thing underneath, which is what I put, which is returned authorizations and prepaid labels. Okay. Every single one of those options tells you that automatically Amazon will authorize a return. However, I have the first one checked off. I want Amazon to automatically authorize and provide a prepaid shipping label for return requests that meet Amazon policy. However, most of my items do not qualify for a return. And therefore, Amazon will never authorize because it does not meet Amazon policy. It'll have to go through me. And then I determine and decide. Okay? Some of my items are obviously personalized. Some are not, but the ones that are not, they get to choose envelope colors. And so because they have a variation, Amazon assumes it's a custom item. Me personally, it's not. They're more than welcome to return it, okay? Especially if they send it back and it's not damaged, etc. But because I have that option that makes it custom, it goes outside of Amazon policy for returns, and therefore it will actually not authorize. However, if you have an item that is pre-made and there's almost like an item that you can actually sell at FBA that doesn't require anything additional from you or any customizations, yes, clicking that will have it automatically authorized if it still meets Amazon policies, usually within the return window, et cetera, et cetera. Anne says, I raised my prices and lowered shipping on Amazon. No one wants high shipping or any shipping. It works. And that might be the case, guys. I mean, depending on the market that you're in, offering free shipping may work and raising your prices may help. There's a lot of pricing tricks that I actually go over on my Amazon webinar that you may find very, very beneficial. It just depends on the market and testing. You have to test things out. So that's another thing. Now, the last thing on that first page in general return settings is return merchandise authorization number settings. I always tell Amazon to generate a return merchandise authorization number. You're more than welcome to provide one for them. That could be used for, if you want to provide one, is that let's say you have a big business running on Amazon and you get quite a bit of return requests. Imagine you sell, I'm just making a number up, 500 units a day. And so you can have a decent amount of return requests. You want to provide a return merchandise authorization number so it's easy for you to identify who's returning what. So when that package comes in the mail and you have to refund that person, it's very easy to manage. However, for most of us, I think putting in, I want Amazon to generate a return merchandise authorization number is absolutely fine. Now, this is what people were all crazy about. In the second tab under return settings, there's returnless refund. If you're in the Handmade at Amazon marketplace, more than likely you're not going to qualify for the returnless refund, meaning when somebody has a return request, let's say I buy this mic, which I did. I bought this mic from Amazon, and I decided I want to return it. Okay, depending on your item, that seller may feel like, why am I going to pay for their label, right? Now this microphone is a bad example, but it might cost me more in a label than it is to, just to have them keep the product. Like, why am I going to do that? So sometimes returnless refund makes sense for some sellers, okay? Because they don't want to pay for the shipping label. Doing so helps some sellers out, especially if they're high volume sellers. You don't have to add a rule here. Right now, there's no rules added in my returnless refund. So if you added a rule, I could say for every wedding greeting card, like to my usher, to my bridesmaid, whatever, I could allow that for returnless refunds, because let's say if I have to pay for a return label, it honestly doesn't cost me much to make a card, then I'd rather not bother. I'm not a high volume seller that I can't control my returns. If I get return requests, it's probably one a month. However, for my greeting cards, guys, most of the time they no longer need it. I don't really make mistakes on my simple greeting cards. But you could set a returnless refund policy rule that says, if they received it damaged, or if we made a mistake on something, then it could be ready for a returnless refund. You can set those rules, okay? Or you can just handle it on your own. You don't have to take part into the returnless refund policy, but it helps sellers that are higher volume so they don't have to worry about trying to authorize those. Karen says, can you raise your prices more than your website to absorb the shipping costs? Will you get in trouble with Amazon if you do? So here's the thing. Amazon tells you somewhere in their policies that you're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to have the best price on Amazon. However, I also seen in the FBA rules that you're able to actually increase the prices on FBA items. I'll just give you those facts and you do what you will. So let's move on. We got the returnless refund. And then of course there's a return address settings. Okay, make sure that's up to date. I'm sure it is, okay? That's really a no-brainer. Now, the last thing I want to talk about, the most boring thing, is tax settings. This will vary depending on your state, but I talk about this because this doesn't really affect customers too much. They don't have to pay taxes if they, are shopping with you and you charge taxes for their state, but it affects you personally if you're ready to pay sales tax. I pay sales tax quarterly, but you didn't collect money from customers. Believe I run into several sellers who have not set up their tax settings because they assumed Amazon or Etsy would do it for them. They don't. Make sure you do it, okay? So if you go into the tax settings and you click on view, edit tax calculation settings, okay? And then you simply have to know your state rules. I live in Texas. My state rules is I charge tax people that live in Texas, okay? That I'm shipping to, if I ship to an address in Texas. So then I see all these items and I go to the Texas area and then I put in my EIN number, which is my state registration number. That's it. I put it in and I save it and I review it, okay? Up above, there is a product tax code, okay? If you don't know what your tax code is, there is a link on the same page when you click on, you wanna edit your tax settings. On top, you could see that you could check out your tax code, depending on what you sell. I put mine in. You have to look up yours to see, depending on what you sell, what your tax code is, and that's it, okay? Then you save it, and it might take, I think, a hot minute to review. I think maybe up to a day or so to review before it actually takes place, where it starts to actually charge your customers tax. We went over settings. Again, there's much more settings to go over in depth, such as info and policies, your artisan profile, your gift settings, etc. Let's go into the most favorite part people like to talk about. Listings. So listings, I'm going to break it up into several different pieces to chat about. First, let's talk about handmade listings versus regular. Okay. When somebody sells on Handmade, you still get found in search. Okay. It's like buying an electronic from the electronics section. When you type it into regular search, even though it's in the electronics section, you'll still get found. So Handmade is just a section in Amazon. So yes, when you have Handmade Amazon listings, they still get found in regular search. So that's number one. Number two, regular Amazon listings are different compared to Amazon Handmade because they require UPCs. Especially if you're making the product, there's no UPC assigned to this item. If I was selling items that I got from a vendor, there's already a UPC from this, okay, that I could just get and attach to it, the exact same product. But when you're making items, you have to get UPCs, okay? I don't have the information here, but you could buy UPCs fairly cheap, okay? Probably like $500 UPCs for like a few bucks, up to $10, okay? But you must get it from a reputable source. They must be Amazon approved, and all that jazz. Not a big deal. Again, it's not super costly in my opinion. Okay. And if you're one of those people that Amazon denied you to sell on Handmade, and if you don't need any other approvals, like in general, you need Bath and Body approval, regardless if you sell on Handmade or regular. They don't still let any Joe Smo selling on there, right? For Bath and Body. So you still need approval. But if you don't, and they denied you from Amazon Handmade, sell on Amazon regular. They denied you from that, and I denied you from that. Here's the thing. If you have not been accepted on Amazon Handmade, get on Amazon regular. If you don't like Amazon regular because your items are more custom, get on Amazon custom. Okay, there's an approval process there as well. But if they feel like your Amazon items are not handmade because you either outsource it, then get on Amazon custom. People have successfully gone on Amazon, whether it's through Amazon Handmade, custom, or Amazon regular. Do it. So we quickly talked about Amazon Handmade versus regular listings. Let's talk about photos, a really, really important factor on Amazon. They prefer very clean photos, very neutral background. They prefer no props. It's frowned upon, the props, but it's not completely out of the question. But when I was told, in fact, I use props, but as long as the props don't look like they're part of what you're offering. Okay, that's really important. Okay, again, it can't be the focal point of what you're offering. Most of my props and photos are cut off. So the reality is, yes, on Amazon, usually white backgrounds do better. It's not completely out of the question, just FYI, but simple, solid backgrounds do better. Make sure if you offer any type of variation, that you have a photo that matches it, that shows those options. Okay, color variation, size variation, material variation. You know, if you have only a variation that has a few different options, show all those options. I have a variation that has many ink colors. I can't show all those ink colors in an example, but I can show an ink color chart. Make it super easy for the customer to understand what they're getting. Now, moving on to variation, guys, there's several different variations you could use. Use the one that makes most sense for that product and makes it easiest for the customer to choose and not be confused. You may do this and may find out later you might have to change some of your listings to make it much more user-friendly. I did it before. I had my assistant do it, but nonetheless, I have it go in and like, you know what? This doesn't make sense for customers. Let's change this wording. A lot of times I have designs that only the ink color of the name can change, not the design. So I take my ink color option and change it to ink color for name. These little small things you have to consider about the user experience, you know, color for envelope. You know, if you give people a choice, you could only have 20 options that you could put in. If you have more than 20 options, you have to allow them to type it in, which could be problematic. They may start typing in things that doesn't even make sense. If you sold on Amazon, you probably have dealt with this yourself. I have ink color chart that's much more than 20, but I'm fine with people typing in their own things if they don't see the ink color chart, because I could probably print out any ink color. It's fairly simple, okay? But if you find that it's giving you more trouble, you may have to only allow them to pick an option and only limit them to 20 options. The variations also allow you to charge more money. So you could obviously do different sizes, okay, if it's not too much difference in shipping. If it is, I like to add that cost to my variation. You know, it's important that you think about the needs of the customer when they look at this listing. If someone would look at your listing and leave the listing, why did they leave it? What are the possible options? Let's brainstorm why they would leave your listing. Not the size that they want. You don't offer the color that they want. They thought it was a larger item. They we only offer white paper, not cream cardstock. Whatever those options are, see what you're able to help them with and offer and put them as variations. This will help with conversions. Variations are supposed to help with conversions. People can look at your listings all day. Variations don't help with getting found in search. Again, I go into it much more thoroughly in my Amazon webinar. So if you have the Amazon webinar, make sure you view that section. Phyllis says, will Amazon let you do both custom and handmade? I believe the answer is yes, but not of the same product. So if I sell, let's say I handmade this calculator. If I sell this in handmade, I can't sell that same item, exact same item, in the custom section, okay? If you have an option to sell this item, whether in custom or handmade, I prefer handmade. The reason why you'd probably go for custom, the advantage, is that it lets the customer type in the name and see a preview. But I have a problem with that because I use special fonts and Amazon don't have those fonts. And it can really confuse the customer thinking they're gonna get a basic font, but they're not. Yes, Erica has to do this because she had to limit her color options to top 20 because she had people typing in crazy things. Sometimes you might have to learn your lesson after you do it, and that's okay. I'm still learning after how many years now with listings, but it's okay. I learn and I change it. A lot of times you might find me in my vlogs talking to my assistant about things we have to do, and a lot of those might be changes to our listings. We do it often to keep up with customer behavior, okay? So let's continue. SEO. Okay, I'm gonna hit you up with some simple tips if you are just starting out. SEO is keyword phrases you use in your titles and tags, which is within the Amazon listing. I think it says style keywords and general search terms, I think it's called. That's where you use your keywords in order to get found in search, okay? We'll talk about relevancy in just a moment because there's much more reasons why you get found in search besides SEO. What you have to do is obviously implement those keywords in your titles in those boxes, okay? The limits are as follows. The title is a 100-character limit. The style keywords in total, remember there's 5 boxes, right? Or 3 or 4 boxes, I forget how many. 250 characters total. In the general keyword section, where those 5 boxes are there, 250 characters total. However, I have successfully found that sometimes my listings pass that amount and I'm still getting indexed in search till this date. However, if you're starting new doing these listings, I don't recommend you passing that limit, because if in the event they eventually do that, then you're already a step ahead of everybody else. However, I still found that my listings are being indexed. I am up to last year in January, and last year, January was a fantastic month. I'm up to last year 50%. More items are being sold every day. There's absolutely no problem. Sales do help with that, but that's why I said if you're just putting your listings together, put it as the character limits as I told you. If you are currently selling that product, don't change it, okay? If it's already past limits, don't change it. At least not yet. There's a few different ways I chat about how to find these keyword phrases in the Amazon webinar, but the most popular way I recommend for you guys is using the search bar. The search bar in Amazon, it's what Amazon customers have already searched for. And that seems to be a very amateur way to find keyword phrases, but it's one of the most popular ways, really a great way to do so. Okay, there are other ways to do it, including paid for programs, using your search term report from an advertising campaign, etc. That could be a little bit more complicated, by the way, in which I go over in the advertising section in my Amazon webinar. But using the search bar is really, really important. However, you must first brainstorm what you are looking for to have some more guidance. So brainstorming, thinking about different words people use for this type of product. Is this called a pen, a writing utensil, felt tip pen? What are the different phrases people use? What are the different uses of your item? What are the different occasions people look for, etc. Okay, so brainstorming is the first thing you have to do before you use that search bar tool. And now you have all these search phrases that you could potentially use in these listings. Make sure you are using relevant ones. Don't list this pen and then put a keyword phrase that says black felt tip pen. Don't do it, because this is blue, unless you offer a variation, which is another story that can be confusing if your photo only has the blue ink color in it. But the point is, make sure you use relevant phrases. It's as simple as that. You want to stick within the character limits, use phrases people are looking for, and apply them. Now, there's no secret that Amazon, unlike Etsy, does not rely on SEO as much as Etsy. Meaning, when you first start out, that's probably what they're relying on, because you haven't had no sales, you have no reviews, etc. It's relying on your SEO skills. So make sure you do it properly. However, as you get some more time under your belt and you're selling here, you get selling there, you're going to start making some sales. Those sales matter. Okay. Again, I have a piece of my webinar that goes over how to convert better. It goes into pricing, it goes into shipping, it goes into several different factors, because you want to gain those sales. You know, this item will become much, much more relevant, and meaning it'll be found in search, if you sell more. I could literally have at one point sucky SEO on this one item, but if it keeps selling, it'll get found for much more than what's actually in that listing. But if you don't have much sales under your belt, it's really relying on only just a few other factors such as SEO and small things, okay? So the idea is work on your SEO, but work on trying to convert people. Those sales matter. So when you're getting views, those views matter. Get those people to convert, because it helps your position in search. I'm like the king of it, because I'm literally like taking over search results everywhere in all my keyword phrases on Amazon. It's no coincidence, okay? And so some of you out there might be struggling, whatever, and I can't control your pricing. I can't control some of your things, but you may have to implement some of the things I teach you in the webinar to help you gain some more sales, to help boost that item. Sales helps with relevancy, SEO helps with relevancy, and really, you know, so do reviews, because reviews also lead to sales. It shows social proof. So make sure that when you do get those sales, you work on getting that customer to leave a review. I include a card. It's one-sided. I don't want to confuse them. I don't want to, I don't want to do any of that. I just want one thing from them, to leave me a review. And I have tons of reviews, okay? It shows my brand name, Modern Pink Paper. It shows my Amazon link, okay? It says, love your order, review us on Amazon. I show the little 5 stars. I tell them exactly how to do it. And then I say, hey, if you have any problems, contact me directly for immediate assistance. You can change that wording and say, before you leave a review, contact me so I can make it right. Or however you want to do it, and then I give my email. Simple. You can tell them contact you on Amazon, whatever. This is a simple insert I put in and it's done. Focusing on reviews as well during this process of even getting a few sales is really important, okay? You cannot bribe people to give you reviews. You can say, hey, I'll give you a discount if you give me a review. You can't do that. Okay, advertising. I know you don't want to spend more money than you already have in your business, but the reality is advertising gets your products in front of buyers and again, could lead to sales. So if you're having a hard time getting to the top of search because your market's really, saturated or whatever, or you just started yesterday, you can definitely use advertising to help get those listings in front of buyers. Potentially then will boost your item, especially if it's worthy of holding that top spot, meaning if it keeps selling, okay? First thing you should know about advertising is that there is manual and auto campaigns, okay? When you first start out, I highly recommend auto. Auto is literally, it takes the keyword phrases from the listings that you want to advertise and uses those phrases to get your listing found. But you're paying for that spot, that top spot. So it's a little bit more helpful. However, if you choose manual, the manual one can really be helpful if you know how to use it. But there's a few things I want to break down for you here so you could kind of get off to a good start, okay? One, you could use the auto, if you run an auto campaign, you could use the search term keyword report to see which phrases are getting the most people in and or the most people in and converting, like the buyers. You can see that in the search term report. Take those phrases, use it in the manual. Manual allows you to put the keyword phrases you want, because now that you've identified which ones are the best, you can stop wasting your money on auto on keyword phrases that are not performing for you and do it in manual and only focus on the ones that are performing for you to make you the most money. You can also target something specific. So for example, I sell, let's say, this mermaid stationery. The reality is if there's not much people selling mermaid stationery, you get to the top of search fairly quickly. But if there is, then you have to kind of compete with them. You could use a manual campaign to target certain keyword phrases, because my mermaid stationery has a lot of general keyword phrases in it with mermaid keyword phrases in it. So I might have personalized stationery for kids, personalized stationery, personalized note card for kids, whimsical note cards, whatever. However, I also have other phrases such as mermaid note cards, mermaid thank you cards, personalized mermaid cards. Those are more specific. When you pick more specific keyword phrases, it's a really great way to use manual targeting, because then when somebody searches for that, it's an exact match, especially if your item's awesome, and my items are, then you know that the likelihood of them purchasing is high. So you could target specific items to get found. And that may mean you might be running several ad sets. Okay, you have one campaign, you can run several ads. You could also target specific keywords. If it's like, I'm glad it's very hard to get found for personalized notepads for kids. It's too saturated, whatever. You could target that just to get to the top of search and give your listing a chance to survive on its own. And then when it keeps selling, you probably take off that advertising campaign and still stay at the top of search, okay? You could also use it to target specific holidays. So I did a holiday campaign for gifts for her, monogram gifts for her, like that type of thing for my stationery, okay? It went fairly well. You could also target in different, Father's Day coming up, Mother's Day coming up, Valentine's Day. Of course, if you do this, do it way in advance. People shop for these things not a week in advance, okay? They shop for, yes, there's last minute buyers. We have to do it way in advance as well, okay? So there's many ways to use the manual campaign, okay? Aileen says, do you do early review program? Is it what price? I don't do it. I don't know the exact price, but it really can be if you have the funds, okay? And there's other ways to kind of do this, but I would rather try to focus on the people that you actually sold to getting their reviews. Okay, I don't know too much about the early review program. I've heard about it though. Cost per click. People always wonder, how much should I, how much, and so sometimes they look at their advertising campaign and they tell me that I'm spending way too much. Okay, let's target one thing at a time. First, how much do you spend? Well, first of all, spend what you're comfortable with. Okay, so let's say if you're only comfortable with $30 a day, $10 a day. Start with something. Now, after you set up your campaigns, you're allowed to choose how much you want to charge, how much you want to get charged per click. So imagine your average conversion rate. Okay, Amazon tends to be higher for me, but let's say your average conversion rate is 1%. That means for every 100 views, you get a sale. Okay? Let's just say that. The cost per click should make sense with that. Meaning, For every person that views your item, right, you need 100 of people to get a sale. So if you charge 10 cents a click, times that by 100 people, you get $10. On average, it will cost you $10 to sell this item. And then if you're selling a $60 item, this may be okay then, this $10 cost. If you're selling a $100 item, this still may be okay. If you sell an $18 item, for it to cost you $10 to sell this item is not okay. That's how you really determine how much your cost per click should be. Figure out your average conversion rate on Amazon and then do the math. So if your conversion rate is 10%, that means for every 100 customers, you get 10 people that purchase. You do the same thing, 10 cents a click times 100, that's $10. And if 10 people purchase with that amount, that means it costs me $1 per person. And of course, if you're like, that's really cheap, I could probably do it. If it doesn't work, I could hire the amount because I'm able to, I have room to do it. The reality is you have to monitor your advertising campaign and see how things are going. Usually what you have to do is when you go to your advertising campaign, the campaign section, the last column shows a percentage. You should never pass 20%. If you do, hopefully it's like only for one day or a week or something. You should always look in 30 days time span. And that should be a relatively good indicator of how things are doing, not less than 30 days. I would recommend making sure that you look at that often, monitor your campaigns. You're able to go in, adjust campaigns. Again, I go into it in much more detail in my Amazon webinar, but you can remove items from campaigns. If you do a manual campaign, you can remove keywords from campaigns as well as items. You have a lot of control over your campaigns and to make them really work well for you. But if you find that you're spending way too much, you could go in and say, okay, which items are getting clicked on like crazy and not producing revenue? What you could do essentially is if people are viewing it, obviously they're clicking, they're viewing it, but they're not purchasing, fix something about that listing for it to convert better, or lower the price of the click, or take off that listing completely. You might have to try a little bit here and there to see what happens, but that's what you have to do. You have to be active, okay? Colin, would you use advertising campaign to get those first few sales or wait until you have some sales? Absolutely, you can. Most people, Colin, have the issue of not being able to afford campaigns when they first start because it might take some little, time to kind of get going, right? Some people want results within a week or two because they spent already $50 or $30 or $10 in a week or two. It's like, okay, got to give it 30 days. If you have some, spending money, absolutely, that could really give you a nice, really great jump start. Why not? Let's go to the last topic, business reports, okay? Again, alone on Amazon, it's over 6 figures. I think it's over 120,000 I made on Amazon. And so I'm not guaranteeing you that number. What I'm telling you is the potential is there. Okay, I did not start in my Amazon shop yesterday, so don't assume that you can start tomorrow and start making as much as me or close to me or thousands and thousands. It takes time to snowball, okay? But doing all these right steps, guys, is really, really important. Everything I talk about today, okay, and of course in depth in my Amazon webinar can help you get there. And of course, the thing I don't talk about is here, I'm not gonna talk about it, but I have a piece in my Amazon webinar that I talk about it, is having the right product to sell. In fact, I'll just say this before I continue with the business report section. In the Amazon webinar, there's a bonus section. In there, I talk about how to determine which product type you should expand into. It's almost like a foolproof method that helps you determine what type of products really sell well on Amazon, okay? Now, even with that, you also may have sucky designs. So the reality is I can't control your designs. I can't control all that type of stuff. I teach you how to sell it on Amazon, but I leave it to you to have great designs and things in demand. But if you need help with things in demand, I do have a video in the bonus section that help you with that. Stacy says, how many listings do you have in Amazon? Ballpark around 700. I'm gonna say ballpark, half of it is stationary items, notepads, note cards, whatever. The other half is wedding items, such as prints and greeting cards, okay? And so the prints and greeting cards are obviously lower priced compared to the stationary. So business reports. I'm gonna go over a few things in there, okay, to help you get started. Business reports, it's like Etsy stats, but different. You don't get things in real time, really. You have to wait a day or something to see it. But the reality is it helps you troubleshoot things and seeing what's going on, especially if you're like, okay, you can definitely see why things are much better than last year, but you can definitely see why things are worse off than last year by comparing. Now, when you go to business reports, always, always, always check at least 30 days time frame. If you just wanted to see how yesterday was, fine, just do yesterday. If you're trying to see how things are going in general, do at least 30 days time frame, okay? Now, here's a few little steps that you could do when it comes to the business report section. When you're going and looking into the page view section, you want to look for items that have at least 100 views. You could actually sort them, I think ascending or descending, pretty much highest to lowest, and find the ones that have at least 100 views or above. If you're like new to like Amazon Life and you say in 30 days out and nothing has had 100 views, then you might have to do a 60-day time frame. Regardless, find that items that have 100 views or more and check their conversion rates. The conversion rate's right next to it, okay? And you're gonna see it and then you're gonna say, okay, this has had at least 100 views or 200 or whatever. How's my conversion rate? Is it good? If it's not, okay, then you got to work on that listing. Write it down to have like a little to-do list of what listings to work on. Conversion rates, guys, by the way, they clicked on the listing already. It's not an SEO issue for the most part. It might be an issue with not using relevant terms, but regardless, if you clicked on it and didn't purchase, hopefully you did use relevant terms. It's the idea of whether it's not the design that they don't want, you don't offer exactly what they want, so you're not using variations correctly, or you haven't matured your line yet to offer different sizes or different colors, okay? So that's that. You have to troubleshoot that as it comes. Then I want you to look at top viewed items, okay? And check conversions in general, okay? Top viewed items. And so if your top viewed item has 500 views in the last 30 days, are you taking advantage of that? You have so many eyes on that listing. Are you taking advantage of the people that are viewing there? Have you added variations that could help upsell, such as add return address printing on mine? You know, there's many different things depending on what you do. Do you add a personalization option that you could charge more? There's so many eyes on that listing or listings that you have to optimize them. So it's another way to use business report to say, okay, what's working? Let me make it better. Don't overcomplicate things, okay? But make it better. And then you're looking for items that have low views. Okay, or really should have much more views than they should. It's not completely low, but the ones that are kind of in the middle, like if you have views up to like 1,000 in the last 30 days for an item, and there are some that have like 1, 2, or 3, look for the ones that are kind of like 50, 100, like obviously way far from your 1,000, and say, okay, what's up with it not being found in search? Take a look. You may be already found it tons of times in search, so maybe you're trying to broaden the amount of keyword phrases you use is probably ideal. Again, using my brainstorming techniques in my Amazon webinar would be really helpful. And guys, there are people who skip over this section. Stupid. It is stupid to do so. I'm calling you out right now. People who've taken that webinar or any webinar of mine who go through the brainstorming activities and actually went through and did it, know it would be silly to pass it. Because then you don't do yourself a favor when it comes time to doing these type of things, because you're like, oh, I did all the work, but I realized I missed a lot of phrases that could have been used, okay? So use that brainstorming techniques I teach you, okay? So you're looking for the low viewed items and going back to work on SEO, or saying, you know, this is a really fantastic item. I did what I can in SEO. Let me use advertising for these bulk of items, okay? Using manual campaigns is a really good idea. Colin says, how long did it take for you to get sales? I just want to have some general idea of what is realistic. Everything's gonna vary, right? It took me, I'm gonna say 3 or 4 days, okay? I started when Amazon Handmade just rolled out, okay? And everyone was getting sales the first day. I was like, oh my God, right? I was so nervous because I was competing with the first top spots with Crane Stationery. Crane Stationery is a very prestigious stationery. I'm like, oh my God. And I got my sale first on the 3rd day or 4th day. And it started to slowly roll in. I don't remember my first month of sales, but things have to slowly snowball, guys, okay? And the reality is, guys, if you have 20 listings, well, you could do some really great things with it. Broadening your, product offering is probably really ideal. I make thousands of dollars on several products, but I still make a decent amount on others. Broadening your offering is probably really smart, especially if it lets you hit other keyword phrases that you get found for. Meaning, let's take Colin, for example. I don't know what Colin sells. Let's assume he sells stationery, like me. I want to find Colin's listings pretty much for every single type of stationery keyword there is out in the Amazon world. I better find it. Okay, and that's the goal you have. Now, if you don't create notepads and you have no interest in doing it, whatever, then fine. But you should really broaden your variety in your product offering to make sure that Colin is found anytime people search for stationery. That's really the method I did. I mean, I wanted to be found for everything. And for the most part, that's relevant to me, I am, okay? What's a good conversion rate, Aileen asks? It will depend, but I find that on Etsy, it's 1 to 3%, maybe a little bit higher now that they have the visit situation. But I find that Amazon should be much higher. So I feel that if you're at least hitting 1%, okay, things are happening. But I feel like it should be higher. I can't give you the answer because I find that based on people I speak to, the answer does vary. It varies between my type of market and somebody else's market. I find that I sit around the 10 to 15% mark. Slower times I go to like 9%. During Christmas season, I go to 25, even 30. Okay, so it just will vary. Okay, Natalie says, do you use page views or sessions to figure out the conversion rate? You don't have to figure it out. There's a column that does it for you. Okay, it's unit session percentage. That's your conversion rate. Okay, if my trademark is federally registered, is it best to have my own store on Amazon, or does it not matter? If you are registered trademark, I'd recommend having the brand on Amazon. I don't think it's a negative for that. I hope you found today's Facebook Live useful. It hit things really quick and hard, but if you rewatch this, I think you're able to kind of get started on things. I find that if you're doing all these steps correctly, everything I mentioned today, including the having a variety items, everything, okay? And again, I highly recommend getting the webinar to do it much more thoroughly, to do things right, okay? Some things may take time compared to others, right? It could happen faster for me than it does for you, depending on your market. But things like advertising can help boost you. There's a few different things that can help boost you. Again, I go over it in my webinar, ways to help conversions and things like that, okay? It's a really thorough webinar. Another thing I wanna mention, by the way, guys, is that I offer a private Facebook group if you purchase the webinar. If you need help, individual questions, whatever, I'm there to support you. I hope you found today's Facebook Live useful. Again, it's just a guideline, but if it helps get you started, that's fantastic. But if you want more thorough training, more hand-holding, etc., get the webinar. It's just a no-brainer, implementing it and having the right product line, you'll get your money back in no time. It's the reality of it. If you buy it, you have access to it for a lifetime, okay, including the free Facebook group. Okay, if you're watching this saying, yep, I consider getting on Amazon, thanks for this Facebook Live, whatever, I'll buy your course, I won't buy your course, whatever, do it soon. Get on Amazon soon, regardless if you buy my course or not, because testing it out now when you don't have a fee monthly is much better than having a fee monthly. I could easily afford the $40 fee that happen monthly, no problem. But some of us, when we're getting started, we're not really quite sure, right? Get started. You have a year before they start charging the fee. If you're watching this, there's absolutely no excuse unless they don't accept you at all, okay? But like I said to you earlier, they have Amazon Handmade, Amazon Custom, Amazon Regular. You could do it. What I don't want is the majority of people listening to this or on this group joining me next holiday season in 2018 complaining they don't have sales or they wish they were on Amazon or blah, blah, blah. Do it soon. The sooner you do it, the more time it gets your listings to really perform better, so it's ready for holiday season. All right, guys, have a great day, and I will talk to you. Well, I'll see you on Facebook Live next week. I'll chat with you throughout the group as the days pass by. Okay, guys, have a great day.